The future belongs to those who learn more skills and combine them in a creative way. Robert Greene. You don't like that one? How about this one? The ladder of success is best climbed by stepping on the rungs of experience. Ayn Rand. Here's my last and final one, family. If you try to skip the basics, you will skip your development. The great late Kobe Bryant. If you're new to the episode, I go by the name of ED. For all you smart and intelligent folks out there, listen, that simply means, Ed, I have an 8-point framework. In these 8 points, my goal, my mission, my job today is to unpack today's episode, which is entitled How to Project Manage with Experience. Again, how to project manage with experience. You know why I love this title, family? If you don't mind, I'd love to share a quick and brief story. The reason why I love this title is because you'll normally see a title that will say, How to Become a Project Manager with No Experience. Okay, you don't like that one. How about this one? How to be a project manager with no experience. Same thing, right? So I thought, hey, want to play a quick play on words? How about for those who actually want a career in project management, for those who actually want to do this thing that I love, that you already know where I'm going with this, family, that I hope you fall in love with, called project management? Wouldn't it just make sense to speak to those people that really want to manage a project and have experience? Let me ask you a question. I mean, just, I wasn't even thinking about this, but as I'm talking, the more is coming out, I might as well just let it go. So let me ask you this. Let's say you get $1 million budget, right? And you own that $1 million. That's your $1 million. Would you want somebody to come to assist you that has no experience? I'll let you ponder on that. I'll just speak for myself. Personally, I wouldn't want anyone to come and assist me if I have $1 million budget with no experience. But that is a conjunction. That means everything that I said before is irrelevant. Now here's the new context, what I'm about to reference here. I would want someone with no experience but they would have to be coachable. And being coachable meaning you can train anyone on the job, because becoming a book project manager, or I love what they talk about in my industry, the paper PMP or the paper CAPM or the paper ACP, you definitely can be that. And because there's some experienced paper PMPs, some experienced paper ACPs, there's some experienced paper CAPM. And when I say experience, I use that loosely. That was a nice tongue in cheek, as they would say. But seriously, though, family, the point I'm trying to make is that we want to ensure that whoever is working with us, that they do have some experience of wanting to, rather being that they're coachable, whether being that they can pick up on the skill set of project management, because this is a career. I always talk about it's a journey. It's not a one fit all, like, oh, okay, well, now I'm a project manager. I got my project management certification, or I got the role as a project manager. Well, again, like I always say, the journey begins, because that organization is going to be different from any other organization. However, the foundational principles will be the same. And so we're going to talk about some foundational principles here today. And then I'm going to get into some soft skills, and then we'll navigate and closing this bad boy out, as you know, with my 3 closing remarks. But again, family, I want you to understand the play on words. You know, we like to have fun here. And if you don't, well, welcome. We like to have fun. But at the same time, I want to impress upon you the importance of getting experience. And getting experience doesn't mean that you can't, that it is not that you can't go and volunteer to go get this experience. There's a lot of volunteering opportunities where you could go and learn how to do project management, but a lot of people don't want to do that. They'd rather just skip that step. I always share a story about how, being 6'5", it has its challenges as far as great things, and then it has its opportunities. And so one day I was running up the stairs, and I thought, hey, you know what, I could probably skip about 3 or 4 of those stairs. And boom, I skipped 3 or 4 of those stairs. And for some odd reason, my body mechanics didn't catch up with what my brain was thinking at the time. And so let's just say I got a very close look at the carpet that was on the stairs. So I'm planted with my face on the carpet, and I'm just sitting there just thinking to myself, I said, this is a segue into life. You know, we're in a microwave generation. We want everything fast. We want it today, and used to be in a day. Now it's in less than a couple hours. Pretty soon it's going to be in less than a couple of minutes. And so the point I'm trying to make, family, is that when you get in this thing that I love, that I definitely hope you fall in love with, called project management, there's steps in this. And yes, there are some exceptions to the rule. I do not want to negate that, because that is so true. There are some exceptions to the rule, but for the majority, it's going to be a process. And with the process, then it turns into a progress. And then from a progress, this wasn't even it. I feel like this is my sermon today, because it's not even in my sermon today. But seriously, family, I want to ensure that you guys understand the importance of, don't fall for as they say, the honey in the trap, because basically if they say, hey, no experience, you can do this and get no experience, then and you can be a project manager overnight. Well, again, going back to my original sentiment, if I gave you if someone gave you $1 million and asked you to budget this $1 million, and you have no experience doing it, you would want to hire someone, or you would want to start watching these videos right away. And I wouldn't mind, as long as you give me a thumb up and share this with someone else that needs that assistant. That was just my shameless plug. Let's get into this work. All right, family. So first point, let's unpack this first point, because this is very vital. First point is project charter. Why is a project charter, developing a project charter, important? To me, the project charter is really, again, one of those foundational artifacts that really gives a high level overview. I even like this. This is something I just thought of too, and I hope you guys enjoy it. What it is saying, and what I'm saying to you, it's really like a 1-pager or a 2-pager, depends on the organization. Marketing material about what the project is going to be about, even though you really don't know what it's going to be about until you get into the planning stage. But it really gives you a high level overview, because the majority of that information should be high level. Now, I know there's some project managers out there that make a detailed project charter. Again, to each his own. I'm not here to condemn or tell them how they should properly do it, but right here we will properly do it correctly. And that's more or less a high level approach to meaning around your scope, around your time, around your potential risk, around all of these are high level. Only thing that may have a little detail may be your objective. That's probably more of your high level, but really, you really don't know until you start going into the planning phase. You may have an ideal of what your deliverables are. You may have an ideal of what your success criteria looks like. You may have an ideal of what your scope is for. But again, once you get into the planning section, we start unpacking the 49 processes. That's why I love what Phil says. The 49 processes is very important. You need to know these inside and out. If you're getting in this thing called project management, you should be able to articulate to me. I should be able to ask you, all right, unpack for me scope management. You should be able to tell me plan scope management, collect requirements, define scope, create a WBS. Now let's go over to monitor and controlling, validate scope, control scope. This is all in as part of the 49 processes. You want to be able to unpack that in a way that makes people understand, oh, I think we would have made a mistake, because we thought we were getting a paper PMP, but we actually got a real project manager here. We might be in trouble. So anyway, family, I just say all that to say, here's an actionable step. When you're creating your project charter, you want to ensure that this is a collaborative approach, collaborative with your key stakeholders, to gather all of this documentation. Again, I've seen this done where you'll see a project manager and a sponsor going off in their little corner, and they're working on the charter. And every time I see this, I just shake my head and say, oh, this is going to be a very interesting project. All right, let's move on to point number 2. Create a detailed project plan. But, yep, I'm showing out today. I am showing out today. But be open to change if it's required. What do you mean, ED? See, a lot of times we can get caught up in our plan. We know the motto here. We know the quote here. If you plan to fail, then you fail to plan. However, and I do mean however, you have to understand there is a piece in here in project management. We do have a change management process. Why do we have a change management process? Because I thought that was going to be for this project, or what we thought would work, and what we tested was not what it was. So we need to be able to adapt and pivot. And again, in this thing called project management, you see, I'll say this, until the agile mindset really incorporated into project management, you've seen a lot of project managers hold the fence, hold the line, and say, no, we're not making any changes. I was like, okay, if you're not going to make any changes, are you at least going to document the recommended change in your change? Nope, we're not even doing that because we don't want people to have any ideas. I'm like, oh boy, we know, again, we know where this is about to go. And every time I said that, I was right. Although I could rub on a crystal ball and see it come up, but sometimes you don't even have to do that, because again, this is what experience teach you. You know, the people that say that you don't need any experience to do this. All right, I digress. I'm sorry. Sometimes I get ahead of myself, so excuse me. But again, create a detailed project management plan. And again, here's another caveat, because I know if you came to sit here and watch me, take your time out of your day to listen to me, I want to make sure you get it right. A project schedule is not a project plan. Repeat after me. A project schedule is not a project plan. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little extra, but I'm feeling so good today. You know why? It's because I get to talk about something I love. And when you get a chance to talk about something you love, sometimes that passion just exudes out. But anyway, I digress. Let's move on to point number 3. Point number 3, you want to identify and manage project risk. Listen, these 3 pieces that I named, the charter, the project management plan, and the identifying risk, these are really like your key. I mean, if you forget everything else, you want to make sure you get these right, because the only reason why project management plan is going to touch all of the different knowledge areas. Project charter is going to give you, as I said, your marketing material. So if someone is asking you, hey, what is this project about? You can give them a high level overview, and you can also shoot them that document, so you don't have to go back and forth and say, if you have any questions, just please let me know. But again, proactively identifying your particular risk, because you always want to have that approach, because you don't know what may impact the project, and then develop strategies around it. I mean, just don't identify the risk and then don't put any particular strategies in place. All right, let me do this. Last and final point on that. I would recommend that you do a risk register as well as an issue log. And also, it won't hurt, but conduct a risk assessment. It's very simple, very easy, and it just basically outlines the likelihood, impact, and response strategy for each identified risk. All right, point number 4, point number 4, manage project documentation. Listen, one of the biggest things is when you're leading projects is your ability. I was thinking about Billy D. Williams. Anyway, pause. Your ability to actually control your documentation. One of the things that I've seen, especially new project managers get caught up, they don't have good version control. So for instance, let's say I had a project charter that I'm working on with some key stakeholders and my project sponsor, and this was the first time we're taking a shot at it. You would want to put version 1 at the beginning of that, and then keep a folder that says version control, and putting all the old versions of in this case, the project charter in there. Because again, family, we can get caught up in moving so fast and you don't know, okay, what changes did I make? What changes I didn't make? So to avoid all of that, and I always say, hey, use proper version control. But when you're managing your project documentation, you want to ensure that there's something there that allows you also to know what documentations are going to be required. I've seen people try to put WBSs on things that don't need a WBS, and it's not applicable. So you can't. The PMBOK is a guide. It's a guide, and what that means is, just like any guide, yes, there are certain things that are applicable, some things that has to happen, but pending on the project, you may not need those particular artifacts because it just doesn't make sense. And you will know it because you'll be like, yeah, that just, why would I do this? Why would I create a WBS for this? And yeah, you're right. I probably shouldn't even do that. But again, talk with your stakeholders and see if it makes sense. Point number 5, message. This is a huge one. This is a big one because I always see people when they step into this project management and become a project coordinator or become a project manager, what they're not aware of, what they're not privy to is the ability, which is point number 5, resolve project issues and conflicts. See, a lot of times what happens, family, is that when you are leading a project, for some odd reason, everybody has their way or thought of how this project should be led. For some reason, everybody has their thought or way of how things should be properly documented. For some reason, you kind of get where I'm going. See, family, you want to be able to proactively identify and resolve any issues or conflicts that arise during the project to minimize their impact on the project's success. Listen, they always say, one of the biggest models that I live by when I'm leading projects, I like to get to the root of the issue. I don't want to do no surface cleaning. If you and if 2 stakeholders have an issue, I want to pull them aside separately, talk to them individually, then bring them together after I had that individual conversation. If we cannot get to a resolution, if we can't get to an understanding, I want them off the project. Because if my goal is to lead this project to success, well, you're going to have to trust in my leadership that I'm not kicking somebody off because of my personal emotional feelings. No, it's good for the business. So again, family, you want to get to that. You want to get to the root of that conflict quick and easy, and do your due diligence of setting up the necessary meetings with each individual or individuals, however that looks, and talking with them. Because what you're not aware of or what you're not cognizant of, if you don't, again, your project will go up in flames so fast. By the time you look around, you're like, what happened? Like all I did was this. Yeah. It's already gone. So let's move on to point number 6. Point number 6 is, and again, that was a soft skill. Being able to resolve conflicts is really a true soft skill. You're going to constantly be learning that. Like I'm still learning it, and I've read many books. I've have much experience in de-escalating things. But again, it's still something you're going to continuously learn. Point number 6, develop strong leadership skills. John Maxwell always talks about the ability to equip, the ability to influence. And so as a leader, because you're not doing the task, well, that's what most project managers are not actually doing the thing. They're not actually building the widget, actually building whatever the project output is supposed to be. So that case, you want to be able to develop and demonstrate strong leadership skills. And not just and around leadership, I'm speaking about communication. I'm talking about delegation, conflict resolution, as we talked about in the last point. And then finally, the ability to effectively guide and motivate the project team. Listen, I'm motivating you right now. I'm doing all crazy things. I'm very excited. I'm constantly smiling. I do that because I want you to know that I am giving you information. I am leading you. I want to lead you effectively. I want you to lead you away from those out there that's telling you, hey, you don't need no experience. You can become a project manager with no experience. No, that's not true. And I definitely messed up the title on purpose because I want to see what someone is going to say. So that's just me being, I'm always experimenting. You guys know that. All right, let's move on to point number 7. Value time management. Some of my insider tricks that I've shared with you guys. If you haven't, if you're new, one of the things I always talk about here, family, is the ability to put your phone in do not disturb when you're in meetings or when you're working on something. I also talk about the ability to block your schedule, meaning if you're working on your project management plan or you're working on a schedule or you're updating your risk or your issue log, your risk register, your issue log, or whatever that thing is that you need full deep focus. Block that time off on your calendar so no one will do that. But use that time wisely. Don't go getting caught up in emails or getting caught up in a phone call. No, block that time so you can focus. And that's why I put my phone in do not disturb, because hey, if it's that important to somebody that they need to speak with me, they can send me a text message or leave me a voicemail message. If I don't get one or two of those, then I know really what is not that important. And I can circle back with them once I get free from out this particular meeting. Here's my bonus. Well, I got point number 8, and then I'll get you to my bonus. Point number 8, encourage professional development. Family, what I am doing right now is professional development. Why is that? Because I'm working on my skill set of communication. I am working on my ability to take a subject and unpack it in a way that from somebody as a beginner getting into this to someone that's seasoned, both can have a understanding and be able to take some valuable points from this. Listen, the more skilled your stakeholders are, the better success that you're going to have on that particular project. Why? Because they're going to be more productive. Why? Because they're going to be able to push through these complex problem solving issues that may come along. Because when you're working with a team that has that professional development, that they're constantly working on getting better, what's going to happen is, family, is that when a problem comes up, watch this. This is what I love about working with people that's constantly working on themselves, just getting, as James Clear talks about in Atomic Habits, 1% better, is that when they see a problem, they don't dump all their resources on the problem. They dump all their resources on the solution. Okay, I hope you didn't miss what I just said there. What I'm saying is that they understand what the problem is. Okay, that's the problem. Okay, now we need to focus on 110% on the particular solution. We can't get caught up over here and say it won't be done. We can't fix it. We don't know how to do it. This is never going to work. And go on and on. And you like, man, y'all done wasted 2 hours doing that. How much time did you work on the solution? So anyway, I digress on that point. My bonus, family. You know, I can't leave without talking about my favorite thing, and also what's in this book right here, The Magnetic Project Manager. By the way, shameless plug, the Magnetic PMO book is coming, Cinco de Mayo, May 5th. That is the intended goal. I'm sorry that I've delayed on that, but also, because I delayed, I also have another book that I wasn't going to release until later on. I may be releasing both books, and because of what I've learned along the way through my mentor, my coach, my good buddy Phil, I'm probably going to have to do a seminar or some other things around these books this time, because I want to create a box set. But anyway, let me get to the point. Facilitate effective communication. The ability to communicate effectively, verbally and written, is going to be your key foundation. I know I keep talking a lot about foundation. It's important. And when a house is built, it's built on a foundation. So when you're building your project management toolbox that we've talked about in previous videos, you want to ensure that you're building it. A part of it has to do with communication. You have to be able to take something that is super complex and boil it down to when you're just talking to executives. You have to take something that's super complex and be able to talk to other stakeholders that may not be technical savvy as some of your other stakeholders. So having various ways to communicate. And again, this comes with experience. Again, this comes with trial and error, which is equivalent to what? Experience. So all I'm saying on that, family, is just making sure that you constantly find ways to develop your communication, whether written or verbally. Let's move into my closing remarks. I have 3, as you're fully aware of. Point number 1, you want to create a detailed project plan, but as I stated earlier, you want to ensure that if there's change required, you make that particular move and be ready to make that change if required by following the proper change management process. Point number 2, develop a project charter. As we know, the project charter really is, I remixed it and said, hey, this is your marketing magnet. What I mean by marketing magnet, as we know, with a magnet, it attracts. So if someone is asking you, what is this project about? Say, here, please refer to the project charter. If somebody asks you, hey, I have some questions about what we're going to be doing or what my role is and this and that, say, hey, right now we have the project charter. I'll set up a 15-minute or 30-minute discussion with you, answer any of your questions, but please review this first. And then when we move into project planning, then we can go into, or I should say planning, then we can go into what your role should be looking like long-term on this particular project. And then my last and final one is your ability to resolve project issues and conflicts, of getting to the root of everything. Because like I stated before, family, if you are unable to get to the root of what is going on, eventually the root is going to, the problem is going to boil or bubble to the top, as they would say. And then at that point, you might as well get ready to start working on your resume or looking for something internal or external, because your project is just going to go up in flames. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I go by the name of ED. This has been an awesome experience. I thank you for taking the time to watch today's episode. Until next time, I'm gone.